Just getting things set up here. Just getting things set so I can read everything. Be with you in a moment. Here we go. I'm getting there. Okay. Don't know whether anybody's here or not. We'll just carry on. And we need to do a check on everything. Hi, Gladys. I know you're on Kathy's over there, so don't worry. I'm just trying to get things set up here so I can read chat and everything. Okay. Don't know whether anybody's on here yet. Thanks, I think you gave me a like, Gladys. Yep, Gladys, I know you're here. Can you hear me and can you see me okay? I just need to type something in here. See if everything's working. We'll check and see if this works. Okay. I'm just sort of checking here to make sure everything's working okay. And my phone or my watch is dinging. Okay, the notification came up there. That's good. So I'll just talk to myself for a while and see if anybody comes on. If not, no problem. They can watch the replay. Okay, now I've got to remember which mouse is which. Hope everyone's doing well today. I've been up really early this morning, playing around with on Pinterest. Actually, I was looking on Pinterest. And so I'll switch down. And where are we here? And I'm just going to check some other things because I want to make sure that, oh, thanks, Gladys. I just want to make sure that everything's working okay and the sound is good and picture and everything. So, okay. And I think I know where I'm looking so I don't look like an idiot looking at the screen. Um, I've changed a few things. And I thought, oh, hi, Kathy. How are you doing today? Okay. I'll just, actually in the left-hand corner, you can probably see my desk. And I'll switch it over to the desk so you can see what I'm doing there. There we go. So just in case I forget to switch cameras like I was doing the other day, I've set it up so that in the left-hand corner, top left-hand corner, is me, and then you can see my sewing machine on the right, and the top right-hand corner, and then you can see the desk. So just in case I forget to switch cameras, at least you can see my phone, or the sewing machine camera isn't on right now, but I'll turn it on when I get to that point. So I wanted to just show you a few things that I'm gonna stitch this up today, and working on the rows A, B, and C. Oh, it's cold in Maine? Oh my goodness. Actually, we have very nice weather here in Calgary, Alberta. And Kathy, do you do other things besides knitting? It's going to set my fabrics off to the side here. And I'll be working with this. I don't need the picture anymore because I'll check it after. And so I'm going to have all my little styrofoam with, I'm just going to be making one block today because I haven't done this block before. This is my test one, so if I make any mistakes, you're going to see them, and if it doesn't turn out, well, we'll just start all over again. Oh, great, Kathy. So I'm just going to go ahead and start, and if anybody wants to see, they can watch the replay. And looking for my A1, and that is a fussy cut. You do it all, Kathy? Oh, good. I'm glad. I do everything too. Too many things. Cross stitch, crochet, knit. Oh, and I for Christmas I got diamond art. So, and now my screen here is showing. Where is it? Hi, Lori. Now, it's going to take me a little while to get used to watching chat, doing what I'm sewing, and I don't do things, I'm not good at multitasking, let's put it that way. Lori Clark is here. And if somebody else comes on live that you want to go watch them, go right ahead. You can catch the replay. Oh yeah, I am so organized. Oh, you haven't seen my room. Okay, so I'm working with the foundation paper piecing, and I haven't, like I said, I haven't done this block yet, so I know that I could probably run into a few problems, but let's get going. I have my fabrics cut, and I've only cut one piece because I don't cut any more than that unless I know that it's going to turn out okay. So what I'm going to do is start by taking my A1 piece, and I have fussy cut it. Now on the pattern I've designed it so I can place this exactly where I need to. And I'm going to be working on the wrong side of the paper, so this is going to be placed onto A1. When I flip that back, you can see it. So I started out like this, and I'm going to flip it this way, and then this piece is going to go on here. Now, how do I know where it's supposed to go? Well, I'm just going to take, and I have two markings on here. So I'm going to take and line up. There's an 1/8 of an inch at the bottom of this. So I'm going to fold it over, and to get this lined up so that I can line it up, I'm going to draw a line with my friction pen, 3/8 or 3/8, 1/8 of an inch from that bottom edge, just like what's on here. On this side, there's a 3/8 inch, and on this side, there is a 1/2 an inch from here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove the paper. I'm going to turn that off. I'm not ready for you yet. I'm just going to remove my fabric. And I haven't been sewing yet this morning. Oh! Meat trays for crafting, because you can poke pins in it. That's a good idea. Yeah, these are just, I suppose I could poke pins in it too. Okay, so now on the back side here, I am going to use this as a guide. So on here, I'm going to mark a line 3/8 of an inch because this is fussy cut. I've drawn that 1/8 of an inch away from the cut edge at the bottom. So here I'm just going to line this up and draw a line. And that's just going to give me a placement for the fussy cut. On this side, it's a 1/2 an inch. So I'll line up my ruler with the 1/2 inch mark right along the edge of the fabric. And that will give me my guidelines. So I know when I place this on that it's going to match and line up. So did I do that right? I should have drawn it on the right side. See? First mistake. Like I said, I haven't done this one yet. I've got some frayed edges there that I'm going to just trim off. They're bugging me. Yeah, this is styrofoam. I suppose I could do that too. Yeah, that sticks. Okay, so pattern piece. And now, yeah, I should have marked that on the right side, not the wrong side. So this one's going to be 3/8 of an inch, because I'm always working. I think I better iron those off. The bottom one I can see, but the side one. So now, right side of fabric up, 1/8 of an inch from the bottom edge, and according to this, I need a, thank you Gladys, and guess who Nancy is here? Hi Nancy. So, according to this, I need 3/8 of an inch from the cut edge. So here's where I'll draw my lines. Instead of on the back, I'm going to line it up with the front. And on here, it was 1/2 an inch, if I did this correctly. Okay, so let's see here. Okay, so on this, now I'm going to draw my 1/4 inch mark from that 3/8, or measuring 3/8 up from the bottom of the piece of fabric. And I should be able to match this up, placing it, because this is fussy cut. So I'm going to place it on. Why does that not look right? Let's turn it over. See, I messed up again. So the 1/4 inch mark, it's going to line up. This looks better. Wrong side of the fabric. I had it right in the first place. So now I'm going to line up so that, now I'm going to have to start all over again. Wouldn't that just make you mad? Okay, let's do this right from the beginning again. Getting myself all mixed up. Okay, wrong side of the fabric. I've got myself all mixed up. So the wrong side of the fabric is going to go to the right side, but I want it this way. Okay. The 1/8 of an inch mark up from the bottom. That's going to give me a little bit of extra fabric so I can trim away. Hi, Lisa. Thanks for popping in. I'm messing up big time here, but go ahead and lurk. Okay. So now I want to line this up so that my markings are 1/2 an inch from that side. Now it's making sense. And that is going to line up so I have enough to trim off when I finish this row. And 3/8 from this side. That makes more sense. And I've already started looking at doing another block, and it's going to have 1/2 square triangles and flying geese. Okay, so now there's a fold line right here, and this is the edge of my fabric, or that's the seam line. So that's going to line up with this mark right here. So I'll line it up so that that mark is there, and line up everything here. The drawn line, that fits right along the drawn line. So I have enough fabric here. I've got a little bit left over here and at the top, and that's what I want. And it's only 1/8 of an inch all the way around. Now, I've watched other people when they're doing foundation paper piecing that they will pin their fabrics on. But because I'm using the freezer paper, I don't have to do that. I can just press it on, and I'm only going to press to the folded edge. If I press beyond that, it's just going to stick and I'm going to have to release it. Okay, we've got our first piece on. That's kind of hard to see with the white. Okay, who is sneaking in here? Somebody snuck in? Zoe, heads up, I can see your phone lock screen. Yes. At the top of the right-hand corner, yeah. Just give me a sec. Yep, it's, is that better? And Zoe is my granddaughter. Thanks, Zoe. I did not see you sneak in there. How's your school going, Zoe? You ready to fix my car yet? Okay. Zoe is taking mechanics. Sure hope she can fix my car. Okay, so now we're going to go on to piece 2. And here's piece 2. Now it looks backwards. But if I flip it over, then it's going in the right spot. So I'm just going to fold this back. I've placed my pattern piece onto the right side of the fabric. So when I place it down like that, I have wrong sides of my fabric up. And now I'm just going to remove the fabric from the piece. Set that off to the side, and then I've got 2 pieces wrong side up. If I flip this over, and I'll just line this piece up so that I have my bottom edge lined up and the left side lined up. I'm going to flip this over so everything's lined up there. I'll just flip it over and put a wonder clip in. And then what oh, I forgot to do something. See? Oh dear. Isn't this a wonderful way to start the live? Okay. So I'm just going to put this all back the way it was. I need to trim this to 1/4 of an inch. So if I forget, it's still in the right place. So now I'm going to trim that. And I have my at 1/4 ruler. So I'll just line that up and trim that off. Getting ahead of myself. And here's my scrap bin that I put all my scraps in. So now I'll just place this back the way it was and put that on top. And I am going to be pressing the seams either to one side or open. So now when I take this to the sewing machine, I'll stitch right along that folded edge of the paper. Have I frozen? It looks like I have. Heavens. School is going good, just on my lunch break, so I thought I would pop in. Oh, thanks, Zoe. But I think I have frozen. Nothing is moving here. Oh, let's close that. Am I moving? No. Okay, let's holler help. Because it looks like I'm frozen. Rebirth your stream, F7. Oh no, I'm frozen. Give me a sec. Okay, yeah, I'm frozen. I can see underneath. Let's just switch this and see if this helps. I don't know. I can see myself moving underneath, but I'm not sure what's happening. Okay. Oh, looks like I'm back now, am I? Okay, minor glitch. Hopefully. Everything is still reading okay. Yes. Okay, I'm going to switch this to the desk. And that doesn't look like I'm moving. That one is frozen. So the desk is frozen. Okay. Yeah, it just seems to be that one camera. Just give me a sec and see if I can redo it here. That's weird. That's never happened before. Yeah, so you can see me on the laptop, but not on the desk. And that's my webcam. So I don't know why that's doing that. Okay, I've got a message here. I'm just going to check the message. That is really weird. Very weird. Okay, let's go back to me. Well, that really sucks. Huh. I'll just have to figure out a way to... Wonder if I restart it. Okay. Technical issues. So let's just close out of here and see if I can restart that camera. because it's the webcam that's not working. So let's just try that. I'm restarting that camera and just seeing if it's going to start again. Okay, it looks like it's working there, so now we'll just check and see if it's going to come up on the... Okay. Had a thumbs down on the, or thumbs down bubble on the desk camera. That's okay. They can thumbs down me all they want. Okay, I am seeing something on here that doesn't look right. That's weird. It's stuck on that. Oh, wonderful. On the thumbs down bubble on the desk camera. Yeah, give that desk camera a thumbs down. But what I can see on YouTube is that I've got a, oh, there. Okay, give me a minute. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, now it's working. Yeah, I just had to restart it for some reason. It just needed a restart. That's okay. 5 watch, or I don't know whether there's 5 watching, but there's 5 likes. Yeah, we're back in business. I guess this is probably a bad time to do a video. Okay, now where was I? Think, Shirley, think. Okay, seeing as how we're back, where did I leave off? I have my pieces together. I just need to sew along the folded edge of the freezer paper. Now, if you are going to do it the traditional way, you would take this to your sewing machine and then you would stitch along the folded, or stitch along that dotted line, which is your stitching line. But once you stitch through that, you can't open your seams or switch which direction they go. So that's why I've designed this so that using the freezer paper, once I stitch along the edge, I can fold my seams either way, or I can open them up. So now I'm just going to flip over to the sewing machine. I just got to move some things out of the way here. That camera just didn't, the camera just didn't like the view, I think. That's why it froze. You're too kind, Gladys. You're saying it looks good. Okay, now we'll go to the sewing machine. There we are. Can we all see the sewing machine? And my hand. Great. And we can zoom in if I have to, and zoom out if I have to. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to carry on here, and we're going to stitch right along the edge, the folded edge of that paper. And I'm going to use 2.0 stitch length. The nice thing about using freezer paper is that your needles don't dull. And the options you have, you don't have to use pins to hold everything together. And also I have fabric right here that I don't have to start right on the edge of the fabric. Now you can see lines here. This is one line that is stitched 1/4 of an inch away. So when I do my back stitch, I'm going to back stitch right here. But you don't have to worry about that. You can just do it if the way your regular piecing is. You start here and you go all the way to the end and just stitch off the end. I have shortened my stitch length to a 2.0 just because this is really fine. And my needle needs to go down. I'm just going to zoom in a little bit better there. So now I've got that foot on that has the little metal piece right in the center, right where the needle is stitching, and I'm just guiding that right along the edge of the paper. Now if I wanted to do a back stitch, I'm going to do it before I get to the end, because why back stitch and cut it off later? Just doesn't make sense. Okay, if I was working on more than one block at a time, I would just chain piece all those together. So you can see my stitching on the back and stitching there. So now I'm going to take it over here. And fold it back. Whoa. Let's change it to the desk. There we are. So I'm back at the desk, and I am going to be stitching I'm not stitching. See, I've become flustered. Okay, I've stitched along there. Now when I take this and fold it into the finished position, my seams are going toward the center. When I do my next block or the next row, I will make sure that my seams are facing in the opposite direction so they will nest. So now with the method I'm using, by using the freezer paper, I can now press that seam open or press it away from the outer edge, or if I wanted to, I could just lift this up, tuck my seam underneath, and my seam is now pressed towards the outer piece. Hope that makes sense. It's laying in the finished position, but I think I want to leave this folded so that the fold goes towards the dark piece. I'm just going to give that a press, and again I'm using my design board that I made, and I press on it. And it's just made out of a artist canvas with felt on it, and then I put a binding around the edge. If I was going to do this again, I wouldn't put that binding edge on. I would wrap everything around so it gives me a full edge. And I'm using the baking sheets here so that I can press, and then when I press, I don't want to press on this side of the freezer paper. Okay, let's get this show on the road. Alrighty, so now just give it a quick finger press. And now I'm folding it into this position so I can read it from the right side. And I'm going to fold back on here, and you can see I have enough fabric left there so that I will be trimming that to 1/4 of an inch. But now we have 1/8 of an inch at the bottom, and we want that because I'm going to be squaring up each row so everything comes together almost perfectly. Okay, so now I would press from the right side, but I'm not going to press past that fold. Everybody still with me? I don't know, I think I'm going to have to try to figure out how to do Zoom and everything so that I'm actually not talking to myself. Okay, I'm just going to turn off my camera, this camera, because it gets a little warm. Turn that sewing machine camera off. Okay, now I'm going to trim that down to 1/4 of an inch. Save my scraps. And now we're ready to put the next piece on. So the next piece is A3. And so there is my A3. And it doesn't look right again, does it? But if I flip it and put it to the wrong side, I have wrong sides up, and I'll just flip it and put right sides together. So I'm just going to use a pin just to release this. I'm trying to keep an eye on everything here, make sure that I don't freeze again. Now I want to make sure I'm keeping this in the direction it's supposed to be. A3, A3. So that's the way I want to pull it off so I don't get myself mixed up. So now it's in this position here. The lines are going straight up and down, so now all I have to do is flip this over and put right sides together. Now where am I going to match that? So we'll just do a test. I believe if I line up my fabric along this edge right here, along the bottom, that should, just going to put my little template on here and just make sure that I've done it right. So if I fold this back, yes, okay. So I'm going to line up those bottom edges. On one of the ones I did, I had to do it a little bit different. Okay, so now that's in the right position. It looks wrong, but when it's flipped back, it'll be right. So now I'm just going to take and put a wonder clip on, and away we go. And I'll just stitch down that side right there, right along the folded edge. So I'll just switch over down to the sewing machine. There we go. Now I'm just going to start stitching and run that center guide right along the edge. Do a little back stitch and come forward. And I really don't have to worry if there's a little bit of fabric sticking over the edge because it's all going to be trimmed. Back stitch. Okay. Get rid of my pattern piece. And now I'm going to fold this into the finished position. And you can see that my lines are going straight up and down. And I'll press that towards the dark side. So again, I'll just flip that seam underneath so it's pressed in the opposite direction as what it was. Just going to check. Just going to fold that seam underneath so it's pressed in the opposite direction. Lay everything flat and give it a press. You can use not seam align. What do they call it? See, I've totally lost it now. Pressing solution. So that's in the right position. Now, I want to know if that's in the right place. So what I'm going to do is just take a pin and I'm going to poke it in right at the tip of that triangle. And when I poke it in there, it comes out. Here, we'll do it this way. Okay, I poked the pin in right at the head, or right at the tip of that triangle. And when I look at the back, it's coming out right at that spot. So I know that it's accurate. Okay, now we're going to go on to back to the next one. And so I do have now a half square triangle. So I'll flip it over now and we'll go on to A4. And again, I will trim that to 1/4 of an inch using my ruler and my little scrap bucket. So I'm now ready to put on A4. So here's my A4. Just release it from the paper, but I'll keep it in the same position, just so I don't get mixed up. So it goes on like that. A4, flip it over. Wrong sides are facing up. Just get rid of my paper and put right sides together. And just lining up this edge and this edge. Flip it over. And now I'll take it to the sewing machine and stitch it up. Okay, I think we're in business now. When I'm back stitching, I'm only doing a couple of stitches. Okay. So that's stitched up now. we'll take it over to the desk and we'll continue on with pressing. So now on this one, I'll flip it over. It's in the finished position there. It's right along there. I'm just going to give this press to hold down that fabric. Now I pressed this seam towards the center. This seam, I want to press it towards the center. So I'm just going to line that up and give it a quick press. And flip it over. And so that seam I'm going to tuck underneath. So I'll just release my paper. Give that seam a little press with my fingers. And tuck it underneath. I should give it a little press with the iron, so it stays in that position. And then let my paper fold back along there. And the folded edge should line up with that seam. And now I'll just fold it over and give it a press from the paper side. And now when I put this down, I'm going to line this up. Because there's a bias cut, I'm going to line that up so I have about 1/8 of an inch. And everything is lining up. And that's where I'll press. And just press up to that fold line. If I press too far, not to worry, I'll just release the fabric. And now we're on to 5, piece number 5. So I'll trim. And we're still, heading back to school. Oh, sorry, I missed that, Zoe. I got involved. Okay, so now we're on to number 5. And again, it doesn't look right, but it is because of the way I've designed it. And of course, my fingers are all goofy right now because I haven't been sewing for a while. Takes me a while to get warmed up. So there it is. Fold this to the wrong side, so I have the wrong side of the fabric up. And the wrong side of my paper piecing up. I'm just going to remove this, flip this over, and line up the cut edges. So I'm lining up this folded cut edge and the straight edge here. Flip it over, take it to the sewing machine, and stitch along that folded edge. Sorry, I forgot to switch cameras. But if you see me do it once, Okay, now I'm back at the desk and I'm going to finish this row. Now this one, it doesn't matter which way I fold the seam. I can fold it to the light side or the dark side, and I'm just going to leave it the way it is and just fold it. If I wanted to press the seam open, I could. Now again, I'm going to go to check at the tip of that triangle. Now I do have extra. I've just got a tiny bit extra on this edge, but I have allowed so that when I trim this down, I've got enough that it's going to line up perfectly when I go to sew the rows together. So we have that completed. We'll check our picture, and according to the picture we have print, solid, print, solid, print, and that's exactly what I have here, and it's exactly that. So now to trim this up, at the top edge I've left 1/8 of an inch, and on each side I've left 1/8 of an inch, and that is so when I finish putting my rows together that my block is going to be 1/8 of an inch larger, and I'll be trimming it down. Here I only have 1/4 of an inch, and that is because there's going to be another row stitched on. So I want to trim this so it's got 1/4 of an inch seam allowance just where the two pieces or two rows will come together. So I'm just going to take my long ruler and line up my 1/4 inch on my ruler, the 1/4 inch mark along that dotted stitching line. And just trim that down. And we are going to check our accuracy. So now I'm not going to stitch or trim on that dotted line. I'll be trimming along the solid black lines. Those are extra 1/8 inch fabric to do my trimming, so I don't end up with a block that's too short. And now I'm going to check my half square triangles that I made. Believe it or not, there was no drawing lines for the half square triangles. My block or my row should be 9 3/4. And when I line up my ruler on there, it is 9 3/4. And this way it should be 3 3/4. And that's because I've left extra at the top and sides to trim when the block is put together. Now again, I'm going to take a pin, and right at the tip of that triangle, I'm going to put a pin in. And that has come out. Just switch cameras here again. So you can see that pin is coming out pretty much exactly. I'm just going to poke it in, just poke it in from the right side here. Right at the tip. And you can see it's coming out right at the tip. Also, to do a check if I'm doing it right, You can just take and measure from the tip of that triangle down to the bottom, and it should be 3¼ inches. Let's turn my ruler around the white way, and it's coming up at 3¼ inches. So right at that tip, 3¼ Now we'll measure the center one, and it should be exactly 3 inches, and it is. So I know this block, or this row, is going to be exact. And I've made 2 half-square triangles and didn't have to trim anything else up. Okay, so now my first row is done. So I'm going to go on to B. That's not the B I want. Where's my B? Here it is. So now I'm going to start with B the same way. Got my pieces all here. Now this one should be a bit easier. I'm going to just give a little mark here so you can see where the lines are. And that's just extended because now I have to center this block on the center piece. So when I lay this down, there should be 1/8 inch at the top and 1/8 inch at the bottom. So now I'm going to flip it over and place this on after I take the fabric off. I'd put the right side of the fabric against the wrong side of the freezer paper. And now I can just line this up on here, 1/4 inch at the top and the bottom. And if you wanted to, you could do like I did in the first part, that you could draw on your lines. But this one is pretty good. Got lots on that side. Got lots on this side, and this side is lining up on one of the stripes. So I know I've got enough on the top and the bottom and the sides for trimming. So I'm just going to press that into position. And now go to B2. So I'll fold it along there and just trim that seam down to 1/4 inch. And there's my little piece of waste. Fold it back like that. Take B2. I should have taken these, released these fabrics before I started. Okay. So B2. B2. Wrong sides are up. Remove that. Right sides together, matching the cut edges on the side and the bottom. And I'll just take that to the sewing machine and stitch that down. Okay, back at the desk. So now on my first one, I pressed the seams. Which way did I press them? I pressed them towards the center, so these ones I want to press out. So I'll just take this, fold it into the finished position, and just press along that seam line. I'm going to flip it over. I have 1/8 of an inch at the bottom there, which is what I want. So I'll now just press that into position and get ready to put on B3, which is on the opposite side. Fold this back. Trim to 1/4 of an inch. And find my B3. And now place it so I have wrong sides facing up, and just line them up. Cut edges. Fold it over and take it to the sewing machine. B3 is in position, and again my seams are going to be pressed out so that they will nest when I put the they'll be pressed out, so when I go to put the two together, 2 rows together, they will be nesting seams. Fold it, finish position. Got 1/8 of an inch at the bottom, so it's what I want. I'm just going to press that down. Now ready for B4. Where are you, B4? There we are. There went my pin. I'll pick it up later. So here's my B4, flip it over. Now it's going to match okay. Remove that. Right sides together. I'll match up the bottom and the cut edge. I didn't trim that. Good grief. It said this is just one bad day. Let's trim that off so it matches. Okay. Now that should be in the right position, because when I fold that back, the lines are going to come that way. Line up the bottom edge. Cut edge. And just go to the sewing machine. Now I think what I'm going to do is on this one, if I remember correctly, I should line this up so that I have the paper at the, it's got 1/8 of an inch here. So I'm going to line that up rather than, oh, it's going to work. We'll make it work. It's supposed to work. Okay, now I'm going to take that to the sewing machine and sew that. I didn't back stitch at the beginning and the end because I did shorten my stitch length, so. And because I'm not pulling or ripping papers off, I really don't need to back stitch. But you can if you want. Okay, there's my finished piece sewn on. So now I'm just going to press that towards the outside edge, give it a finger press. And press with the iron. If the edges over here don't match up, don't worry about that. That is excess to allow for mess ups, goofs. Our triangles will still come out a perfect half square triangle. Just going to press that to the right side here and press on the freezer paper side so it holds it together. And our last one, which is B5. And this time I'll remember to trim that seam down to 1/4 inch. And there's my B5. This is a polyester fabric. It's very, very thin. Okay, B5, flip it over, flip that back. Wrong sides are up. Put right sides together. And just line up those cut edges. And take it to the sewing machine and stitch it down. Whoop, my phone. There we go. One last one. My phone likes to overheat, so I have to keep turning it off. Have to get a different camera than my phone. This is just an old phone that I'm using. Has an extra camera. Okay. Done. Stitched together. And we have another row done. Just going to press that towards the outside edge. As long as these two seams in the middle are facing out, our seams will nest. Give that a nice press down so it's not going anywhere. Now on this one end I don't have hardly anything to trim off, but it's lining up exactly where I need to cut it. So there's our second row, which is row B, and it's all done. Now the last thing is to trim it up. So I'll trim on all the solid black lines, remembering to leave the solid black line and lining up that 1/4 inch mark on my ruler with the dotted stitching line, and it's making sure that it doesn't have to be that accurate. Trim off that. And again, lining that up so I have my ruler right along the edge. And how long have we been on here? About an hour and a half. And now I just have a little dog ear to trim off here. And again, we'll just do a double check and see if this all comes together. Exactly 3 inches in the center from the tip of that triangle to the cut edge should be 3 1/4 inches, and from this part there should be a 1/4 of an inch seam allowance right there, and there is. We'll just double check on this one. Measures exactly 3 1/2, and I have the tip right here is at a 1/4 of an inch. And there I have 2 half square triangles and did the fussy cutting. And now we're going to go on to row 3. And we're going to do a check and make sure it looks like the picture. So I have half square triangle, square, half square triangle, and it's all in the right position. So I'm just going to go on and do the last row now. And I'll just go through that quickly and find our C bucket. Where did I put C? Here it is, right here. And again, here's scraps, and these scraps were from cutting the fabric as well. So now we're going to go on to C. Remove my little paper clip. I'm going to start with C1. So now it's going to go on to the back of the freezer paper, which is the shiny side. And I'm just going to draw a little line, 1/8 of an inch up. Just use my friction pen. This is just going to give me a rough idea. So now it's got to be 3/8 of an inch from that edge. Nope, that's 1/2 an inch. Because I've added for trimming along the side. And this one is at 3/8. Just double check my measurements too, and just make sure. So I get this lined up so that it's cut. Yeah, I did put that line in the wrong place. 1/2 an inch. Yep, 1/2 an inch. So now that should match up perfectly when I go to stitch it in there. So now I'm going to lay my pattern piece on. So this line should match up with that line there, and this line should match up right there. I've got an 1/8 of an inch at the top, an 1/8 of an inch at the bottom, and an 1/8 of an inch on the outside edge for trimming for accuracy. Press that down. Now I'm just going to trim my seam. Nobody's talking in the chat, but then that's okay. I'm babbling away here. Not a problem. So now we want C2. Take C2 so I don't get myself mixed up. Flip it to the wrong side and match right sides together and stitch. So I won't switch the camera again. You've seen me sew right along that folded edge, so I'll just quickly zip that up and I'll come back when I've got it stitched up here. Okay, I've stitched it. Now we're going to press that. Now, which way did we press the seams? That center one was the center is pressed towards the outside, so we want these ones pressed towards the inside. So now if I fold it this way, the seam is going to be pressed towards the inside, so I don't have to flip any seams to get them to nest properly. Just give it a press along there. Remember, don't press on your freezer paper. That's why I'm using the baking sheets, that I can press that and press on the freezer paper and it's not going to matter. It'll come right off. So now fold it. And because that's a bias seam, again, it might have stretched a little bit, so we're going to line that up along the bottom. And just press up to the folded edge. And now we trim again. There's another little tiny piece of waste. So now C3. Find my C3 piece, which is right there. And I think I have two pieces. Yep. C3. Okay, C3, fold it back, match the cut edges right sides together. And line up so that I have my cut edges lined up across the bottom. And fold it over, and now I'll stitch that again. And I'm back after stitching that now. Fold it back along the stitching line there to press it into the finished position, and just press it down. And I pressed a little past the fold line there, but that's okay. I can just release it when I go to press or piece on piece 4 I'm working on. And piece 4 is right here. Trim the seam again. So are we still here? Anybody? That's okay. I usually listen to YouTube videos and stuff when I'm stitching. So now I'm going to flip it over. And again, I don't have to be absolutely perfect with this because it's all designed to be trimmed for accuracy at the end. And piece 4 is on. Now, this one, because I pressed that one in, this one has to be pressed in so our seams nest when we go to put our rows together. So I'm just going to give that a quick press. Tuck that seam, give it a little finger press as I tuck it underneath, because I want that seam going towards the center, not away from the center. Just lay it into the finished position like that and press it down. The freezer paper is going to hold everything in place for me. And now I'll fold this back. I've got my excess there. And now we'll trim our last seam and sew our last piece on. Another little tiny piece of waste. And piece 5. And we have it facing up, piece 5, piece 5. Flip it to the wrong side. Line up our cut edges. Now I'll take that to the sewing machine and stitch that last seam up, and we can start putting our rows together. Okay, so that last piece is together. And remember, I've not done this one before, so hopefully everything will turn out accurately. So So now we're just going to poke a pin in, and I'm just going to check and make sure that it's coming out at the right place. And that is absolutely coming out perfect. Oops. And checking this one. Poke a pin in right at that tip. And I don't think I can get any closer than that for accuracy. So I'm happy with that. So now we're just going to make sure I've got this piece folded down. And now we're just going to trim this block down to size. So I'm cutting again along the black folded line, lining up my 1/8 of an inch mark along the stitched line. I try not to trim off the black line, but sometimes it comes off. Another piece of scrap. Line this up so the 1/4 inch mark on my ruler is along the dotted line. My black line is covered, so I know I can just trim that off. And just trim off the edges. I'm quick. Thanks, Lori. Not really. It just makes it this, once you have it in your head, that I can sew 16 blocks in a day. So now my row C is done, and now we're just going to do a double check and see if these all look right. And again, we can check measurements. So I'm on my row C. Yep, row C. And what I like about the paper piecing part of it is that everything stays together. You know which row is which, and you can just refer back to your diagram. So on this one, we have a solid, our print that we fussy cut, or that I fussy cut. And we have our solid, our print, solid, and print. I didn't change the colors here. So there we have our 3 rows. And again, if we want to do a double check, we'll check the measurement of the inside block. And is it exactly 3 inches? This keeps coming on. Exactly 3 inches, and that's what it should be for a 9.5 inch block. From the tip of the point to the outside edge is, yeah, that's right, should be 3/8 of an inch past. And because the way I designed it is that this bottom edge is going to be trimmed off, so from the tip of that point to the edge of the fabric, I've got 1, 2, 3/8 of an inch, and that's what I want. Because when I stitch the rows together, I should end up with a perfect block before trimming at 9 3/4 inches. So here's my A row, B row. I'm going to put them all so they're facing up, and then I'll turn them over because I have to now take the papers off. So when I take the papers off, I like to start to minimize the shredding. I like to take them off in the opposite order that I stitched them on. Now this is new freezer paper that I'm using, so it sticks pretty good. So now where my seams are, I'm just releasing the paper, and I'm using a, you can use a point turner. This is a letter opener, and it's a little bit longer. I want to tear the freezer paper off, but I'm going to try to avoid a lot of fraying. So now I'm just going to take that and just flip it up like that, and it's released the paper there. So now when I go on to number 3, I can take my letter opener and just run it along there. And rather than pulling the paper all off at once, I use this to slide it along that stitched edge. And my freezer paper is sticking very, very well. And then when I come to this seam, release where it's stitched together. And now I can just pull off the rest of that paper. And if you slide a letter opener or something underneath and go this way, you minimize stretching. I got one there. And that's not too bad. And it's all stayed the same size. Now on here, this is C. So it is like this, because this was on the right hand side. At the bottom edge, I've allowed 3/8 of an inch for trimming the block. At the top, there's only a 1/4 inch seam line. So now what I'm going to do is, that goes this way. I'll take the rest of these off. So B5 is what I want to start with. And I'm going to keep on until still here and watching. Thanks, Gladys. Sorry I'm not checking the chat. That's okay. I don't mind. It's a learning experience for me, and I need to get better at doing videos, so I'm not concerned. If anything is going to happen, and it'll happen. So just run that along. Now I can run that along the B1 there. And that's released half of my paper. And I'm going to start on this edge, fold it back so I release the freezer paper. And like I said, this freezer paper is really sticking good. Poke that in. Once you use it for a couple of times, and like I said, the freezer paper I can use these patterns multiple times. Slide that underneath so I don't get excess fraying. I think next time before I start a live video, I'll do a little warm-up. Okay, release where that seam is so I don't pull out any stitches. And that should be it for B2. Just leave that in the finished position. So there's B, and now we'll do A. This is what I like about freezer paper, is there's no tearing paper out. And I can use this pattern or template over again. If I make multiple copies of it, I can do chain piecing to speed up everything. Now that seam was pressed towards, oh, it was pressed towards the center. And it's sticking nice. Again, I want to go along the stitching line. Butterfingers here. Okay. Now all I have to do is put my rows together. There's A, B, and C. So I'm going to take, I guess I should do A first. We'll do A and B first. Now I'm going to match seams for A and B, and I'm leaving everything in its finished position. Get those off to the side. Now I want to match the seams right here, and I have 2 seams that have the triangles that I don't want to lose my points. So what I'm going to do is take my little ruler, and at this point right here I'm going to measure 1/4 of an inch up and use my friction pen, and right here I'm going to mark 1/4 of an inch, and at this end 1/4 of an inch, and that's going to be for matching my seams, so I get accurate points and I don't lose my half square triangle points. And again, on this edge I'm going to mark 1/4 inch, and that should come right at the tip of where those 2 stitching lines come. I'm just going to draw a quick line there and a quick line here. And those are just reference points for me for matching my seams. Okay, so now we want to put right sides together. So we'll take them and put them right sides together. Now I like to, excuse me for a moment, I like to use, when I made my, my wool cutting mats, I made 2 smaller ones. And this is what I use to pin. And I have pins over here that I use, and they are for lining up my seams. I'm using the Acorn seam-align glue, and to match my points I am going to take a pin, and I've marked the 1/4 of an inch. I can see it underneath there. And I'm going to match the edge, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to place a pin right at where I drew that line. And that's my 1/4 inch mark. When I come out here, you can't see it, but I'm about, maybe a 1/16 inch or something away from the tip of that point. And that is because when you press your seams to the side and everything, it doesn't come out exactly. And if you don't put your pin straight up and down, it's not going to come out at the exact spot. And now that is exactly where I want it to be. So I'm just going to put a dab of glue, a little bit of that seam-align glue right there. And I'll match up my cut edges. Put that pin in straight up and down. You don't want it to be at an angle. If you do this just by pinning at the edges, you're going to possibly, when you put the pin in, it shifts the fabric and your points don't line up all the time. So now here is my other point. So I'm going to put my pin in straight up and down, lift it up, and I'm not exactly at the point I need to be. So I'm going to adjust that pin so when I check from the right side, it's exactly coming out at the seam. And then here I need a little 1/4 inch mark just so I know where to poke that pin in so my seams line up perfectly. And I don't lose any points. So now I'm going to put my seam-aligned glue, and I just need a drop. And then when I put this pin in, straight up and down, and push that down, those points should match up exactly. And we'll find out when we go to the sewing machine. So I can see my 2 points right here. I need to match those up. So I'm going to put a little bit of glue, take a pin, poke it through from the wrong side, but checking on this side to see if it's coming out exactly where I want it to be. And then pushing it in straight up and down at the tip of that triangle. If my seam edges, my cut edges don't line up, that is, I don't care. As long as I get my points lined up. One piece might be a little bit off. Okay, I don't have my 1/4 inch mark there. So I'll just give that a little mark. I can see my 1/4 inch. It should be 3/8 of an inch away from the edge. So I'll just put a little cross mark there, and then that's where I know where my pin should go. And pin. Line up that cut edge, poke my pin through, and I should poke it right where I want it to match. And now I'm just going to press those. And that'll just set the glue so when I take it to the sewing machine I don't have to use pins. Take my pins out and just give it a final press. Now if you want, this is about the only place that I will draw my seam line. Over here I want to put that in. Yep, it's coming out right. So if you want, and there's nothing wrong with this, especially when you're doing half square triangles and you don't want to lose your points, you can see your points. So you can measure 1/4 inch and draw your seam line. However, if you're doing this traditional piecing, when you're doing your traditional piecing, what you have to know is that if your seams or your blocks aren't exactly, when you go to put on the next row or whatever, measure from that seam line to your cut edge. If the block is supposed to measure 3 inches finished, you would measure from the cut edge down, and that's where your seam goes. That makes sense to anybody. Okay, now I'm going to stitch that together, and this didn't, either I didn't mark that. Just going to put a little seam-aligned glue there. And if those stripes match up, it'll be amazing. Wouldn't that be something if they did? Why is that coming out? Because I didn't press it. I did not press that. Okay, we're going to do it and see how close I can get. Right there. That looks good, but I want to clip that. I didn't press it so my glue stuck. So we'll see. This one, that one didn't stick either. I just didn't press those. So now I'm going to have to go and figure out where I want these to be. Just a little bit over. That looks good. So much for my lines. I'm going to keep that all together. Now put it with a pin. Well, that certainly doesn't look right. But it is. Hopefully. That's strange. I want to make sure that comes out at the right spot. Sorry about being so slow on this. And I need another clip. I'm going to clip it right at the end. Okay, now I'm going to take that to the sewing machine, and keep your fingers crossed, everyone. And we'll just switch that camera so you can see what I'm doing. We'll turn the camera on now that it's cooled off. There we go. Just zoom in a little bit. So now I'm going to start stitching 1/4 of an inch away, and I want to make sure that I can see where my points are. Here I will do one little back stitch, and all it takes is one. I don't think this is going to match because I didn't do it my normal way. Should have taken the time to do it, but I'm sure you're all getting bored listening to me. Okay, moment of truth. Let's see how we did. Get this stuff out of the way. And okay, so we're going to check this out. Oh, you know what? Ah, that's cool. That's sweet. It's no wonder it didn't stick. Guess what? Oh, this is cool. Ah, this is neat. I stitched the wrong side. I stitched the wrong side. I had it glued here. Well, that's a corker. Well, that's okay, you can laugh. Okay, we'll stitch this side and then we'll do some picking with Jack. It's no wonder. It's no wonder it didn't line up. Yeah, my foolproof method. So much for that. And just poke this pin in and see if it goes right to where I want it to. Yeah, close. Just double check. Honestly. Yep. Now, you can draw your 1/4 inch line there if you want, or just wing it and hope for the best. I'll pick that seam out. I can't believe I did that. Oh, surely. Do you believe it? Okay. I could make 15 blocks. And not use my seam ripper. Do it on camera. Yeah, we were doing so good too. Or thought I was. Oh, heaven forbid. Turn that off. Oh, Lord, love a duck. Okay. Good thing I didn't backstitch, or did I? Nope. Okay. Seam ripper. We all know the song, right? Because Laura Lynn sings it. And I can't see, so I've got to take my glasses off. Anybody else have that problem with, as you get older, your eyesight, you can see up better taking your glasses off than with them on? Okay, pick away. Now I would be a little more brutal with taking the stitches out, but this is very, very thin fabric. Use my other seam ripper. Okay. Slow down. We'll get there. It's not a race. See how many thumbs down we get on this video. Good Lord. Probably should have really thought this through a little bit more before I decided to do a video today. But that's okay. Okay, it's like watching paint dry, right? You can always see the top of my head. Now, hopefully I ripped out the right seam and not the one I just finished sewing. That would be weird, wouldn't it? Oops, there's a... It's okay, I'm here. We all make mistakes. I do the same thing. I take my glasses off, yeah. It's a good thing I don't need to take my teeth out to eat. Ew, was that too much information? Oh my gosh. Oh. Oh, Lord love a duck. Boy, this, I sure hope I stitched the right seam. There we go. Now let's, ooh. Jeez. Oh, would you believe it? The stripes on this side here matched up perfectly. Oh, you got to see that. That is unbelievable. How did I do that? And believe it or not, they're lining up this way too. This one, no. But off a little bit. Okay, let's get back to this. Let's see how we did with matching after all that. Give this seam a press. and see how close our points are. Jeez. Oh, Lordy. Okay, we've got to turn this camera back on. I've got to get a different camera so I can zoom in. And I'll show you on the sewing machine camera because it can get a nice close-up. So does my... And add a little bit of... I'll think of it. Give me a minute. Easy Press solution. That's seam-aligned glue. This is Easy Press solution. And that is from Acorn. I'll give that a press now. We'll just see how I did after all that kerfuffle. And see how accurate I am. Ain't no perfect here. Okay, you ready? Let's see how those points matched. I just gotta find my... Oh, there's my mouse. Okay, let's go to the sewing machine. Where are we here? Okay, the big reveal. Ta-da! I think that's close enough. What do you think? Now we'll check the other one. Close enough for me. And now you can see where the stripes matched up right here where my 3 fingers are at the tip of that triangle. Those stripes matched up perfect. And so there's our first 2 rows. We might as well go for the last one, and then we'll call this video done after I square it all up. Now, which way does this go? Look at your picture. That's what helps you. Let's... Okay. Desk. Okay. Almost 3 hours to do one block. No, it's just because I'm on camera. Okay, so now I'm on the center one. There's my center. Everything looks good. Before I have to rip out any more seams, just check it out. And so now we're going to do the same thing with row C. Here it is. Flip it over. Points are facing down. Line it up. And believe it or not, I don't have to worry about pressing this the wrong side because I just need to mark some marks on here so I can see things through. No, I forgot what I was saying, but that's okay. It'd be terrible if I remembered and came back and had to do a video to let you know what I was thinking about. Well, that's just weird. Sorry. Okay. I have points here. I just need to know where my exact 1/4 of an inch is. Ruler. Everybody having fun so far? For those of you who are still here. Let's mark this and a 1/4 inch here. And my 3/8 inch mark because I know I've added extra. We'll just do one here just in case I need it. There's my point right there that I need to match. And now what do I need? Oh, I need a point here because if you're good at eyeballing a 1/4 of an inch, fine. Okay. So now I want to make sure that that point, because I won't be able to see it when I stitch, I want to make sure to mark that and put a pin in because it's on my blind side. And oh, that is absolutely perfect coming out there. Okay, so we've got that one through, so now I know exactly where to stitch this, or poke my pin in. So that's in. Put my pin in. Check and make sure it's coming out exactly where I want it. And it is. Put my pin in. Well, if nothing else, I know my glue held everything together when I was doing it. And it held it all together. Okay, last one. Okay, now we will press that down. My phone is overheating. Anybody else have an Apple Watch that tells you when it's time to stand? And it's usually right after you sit down. Okay, now I'm ready to stitch. Let's get this put away. I've kept well, no, I haven't kept you. You could leave any time you wanted. Okay, now we're going to stitch with a 1/4 inch seam allowance, and away I go. And I'll be back in a second to show you how we did. Okay, we're looking pretty good here. And my stripes lined up at this end now. Now that's what you call fussy cutting. How often does that happen? And I see nothing wrong with my points on my triangles. I haven't lost any, and I'm about a 32nd of an inch away on this one. Let's take a look at it at the camera. And actually there is my block, and it actually looks like it's supposed to. And if I measure it right now, I'll do a quick measure, and it should be 9 3/4 inches. Measure, and if that doesn't come out to 9 3/4, absolutely perfect. And 9 3/4. Now let's check this way. And this way it is, oh yes, it's got to be more. Why does that measure 10 inches? I don't know. It's because I got a 1/4 inch, so it's 9 1/2 plus a bit plus a bit. It's supposed to be 9 3/4. Well, it is. I'm looking at the wrong part of the ruler. That's why. 9 3/4 might be a little bit over, but close enough for me because we're going to be trimming it down. And now we're going to check out all our points. The final reveal. And I've frozen again. Hang on. Hang tough. I am going to redo that camera. It must be my one camera is not playing nice today. So just give me 1 second. I'm frozen. I know I'm frozen. Let me see if this is going to come up again now. Okay, it should be. Why is it? Sorry, guys. Nope, I'm not unfrozen, and it's just the one camera. So give me a second, and we'll see if we can't fix that. Oh, that camera froze. There we are. Okay, I'm coming back. Yep, Gladys has a Fitbit. I'm back. It was my camera. My camera keeps freezing. But there, I'm back. Can everybody see me now? Okay, now I'm gonna... Am I frozen again? No. Okay, I'm gonna take you back now. Sorry about that. I'm gonna take you back to the sewing machine camera and just show you the points. Okay. Off about a 1/16 to 32nd of an inch. I'm going cross-eyed here. I think that's pretty good for... Let's get nice and close up here. Yep, that's close enough for me. Yep. Perfect is overrated, right? Okay, so now, actually, the last thing I have to do is square up my block, because it's supposed to be 9 1/2, not 9 3/4. But that extra 1/8 of an inch on either side is how I will trim this up. And when I line up my ruler, I want to check out my points, and I'm still live, right? Yes, and I'm not frozen. Okay, so anyway, here is my tip of my triangle, and if I take my little ruler and measure, and it is exactly 3 inches, and I have 1 2 3 3/8 of an inch, so I just need to trim off 1/8 of an inch all the way around. This one measures exactly 3 inches, measures exactly 3 inches from the tip here down to the bottom, measures exactly 3 inches, and everything is coming out absolutely so accurate that I can't believe that I can get it that close. When I tried doing half square triangles the other way, it didn't work because I would always trim my triangles wrong and they would never come out the way I wanted it to. So now let's measure over 3 1/4 inches from that seam line down here. and I'm lining up 3 1/4, and right here is my 1/4 inch mark. So I have just a little bit of fabric to trim off. I'm going to line up down here, and this one, my 1/4 inch mark is a little bit off. And I'm not sure why, but it could be because of the seams. Yep, there we go. I just didn't have it laying straight. Okay, I've got a 1/4 inch left over here, 1/4 inch left over here. My mark is at the 3 1/4, and so now I'm just going to trim that off, and I won't lose any points. Give it a flip. If I was using 100% cotton, this would probably be even more accurate than it is, because this fabric is very, very flimsy. Okay, my 1/4 inch line is there, 1/4 inch line is there, 3 1/4, 3 1/4, trim it off. What did I do with my scrap? There it is. And again on this side, 1/4 inch mark, 1/4 inch mark, 3 1/4, 3 1/4, and I am ready to trim. Okay, last one. 3 1/4, 1/4 inch at the tip, and my fabric has shifted a bit. So line that all up. 3 1/4, 3 1/4. Now my tips are right on because my fabric is laying straight on my cutting mat. And now we'll give it a trim. Hopefully I did all 4 sides. Okay, now it's supposed to measure 9 1/2. Here's my 9 1/2 right where my thumb is, right there. And I'm not cheating, and it's right here is perfect. Check up at the top. If it's a little bit off, I'm not going to worry. It's just a little teeny tiny bit. That is 9 1/2. Now we'll check this way. And that is, trying not to cheat, it's about a 32nd off. I can live with that. And a 32nd off here, maybe. Let's put that right at the end. And this one, for some reason, it is about 1/8 of an inch. So did I not trim that? No, I did, but let's measure 3 inches from here. 3 1/4. Oh, that's why. I have a little bit extra here. That's why. I'm not going to worry about it. It is so close. And I'm finally done. Thanks for staying with me, people. I appreciate it. So there is my block, and there are my scraps from foundation paper piecing, a 9 1/2 inch block. And they say that foundation paper piecing wastes a lot of fabric. The way I do it, I make sure I don't waste fabric. But there's my block. I'm happy with it. And now you're going to see me all sweat and everything. Hi, I'm back. And, I guess we should check it. And it does look exactly like that. And I'm pleased with it. And thank you everyone for putting up with me for 2.5 hours that it took me to sew together a 9.5-inch block. But I didn't have to square up any half square triangles, and it all came out measuring right. Normally it doesn't take me this long. Next time I will warm up before I start sewing, because I always start out slow, and then once I get going, then it just is a repetitive thing. So thanks everyone. I'm going to, thanks Gladys, still sticking with me. You guys are troopers. Oh my God, that woman's crazy. Anyway, there we are. I'm happy with my points. I'm very pleased that it all turned out. And so now I'm going to go on to my next block, which I will give you a sneak peek on what I'm going to be doing. And just give me 1 second, as long as my stupid camera doesn't freeze. Just give me a second here. Now, you're going to see a funny looking screen, but don't worry, okay? It'll go away in a minute. There. So this, actually, now I just got to check and make sure. Oh, there we go. That's what happened. That's why it switched. There we go. Okay. So that is my next project. And I just found the image off of Pinterest. And this is how I go about designing. I think this block is, yeah, it's going to be, this one is 9-inch finished, 9.5-inch unfinished. But if I wanted to change it to a 6-inch block, I'm just going to go in here and punch in 6. And then I'll tab and punch in 6. Return. Come on. There we go. Now I have a 6-inch block, and I can design that around what I want to do. I'm about to attempt FPP with, is it Laura Lynn on her channel? You make it look like fun. It is fun. A lot of people, when they do FPP, they estimate their pieces, and I found that to be such a waste. I'll just click out of here now. Just give me a second. But I don't even know what the name of that block, but I'll get back to you here. Okay, there. That's why I designed, when I designed the blocks, I designed it so it made sense to me and that there was no waste. I didn't have to tear out papers, reuse papers, press my seams open or press them to either side, and add just that extra 1/8 of an inch all the way around, so if the blocks did not come out or if my edges didn't match exactly when I put my rows together, I had that 1/8 of an inch so I can trim them off, and it looks perfect. Oh, I know, yes, Lori, I know which one it is. That's the one that Sylvia is doing, the dragon. Yes, Sylvia back from the UK. Yeah. I was going to do a test pattern, but of one of hers a year ago or so. But the thing was that I couldn't figure out what I was doing wrong because it just didn't make sense to me. And then I had just sort of started into the paper piecing and really kind of delving into where the angles were and everything. And here, what I had done was my printer wasn't working right, so I couldn't see the areas, and it just messed up. And then when I found out my printer, by that time when I found out my printer wasn't printing out, It was like, okay, I don't think I want to do this now. I'm embarrassed. Yeah, I'm gonna have to watch that. Um, I know Laura Lynn did some. I can't remember what kind of flowers they were. Were they irises or something like that? I don't know, but oh, it was beautiful. And like I don't buy patterns because I can't afford them. And all my fabrics and everything like that, I have some 100% cottons, but all my practicing and everything like that is done on poly cottons because I was a uh, garment sewer before. So, but thank you so much, everyone, for sticking with me, putting up with me, and thanks for hanging in there. You guys are troopers. And yes, you will be entered into the drawing for the $60 gift card from Amazon. I forgot to tell people. Maybe that's how I get viewers, right? Is tell them I'm doing a giveaway. That's okay. You can tell them because I'm going to do another live. I'll put you all through sheer agony. We'll talk to you later, guys. Thanks for joining me. Bye bye.